Ooh, another good one.
Yeah, we're getting it down. We're getting it down. We're getting enough damn. We're getting enough fucking practice at this shit by this point in time. Hopefully, we're getting enough of it. But okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the History in Music podcast, which is soon to be called something completely different. If you are listening to us out there today we're going to be covering the Great Molasses Disaster. It is a song by the darkest of the
Hillside Thickets.
The darkest of the Hillside Thickets. Why in the world can I not remember that anytime I'm trying to freaking look it up? And I've been diving into them and what in the hell they do, and I never can remember their actual name. But anyway, that is the song we are going to be going over today. It's actually off of their album, The Dukes of Alhazred. And
I'm glad you said that, because every time I read it, I think, no.
yeah, I kind of figured. But anyway, getting into it. Okay, the Great Molasses Disaster. If you will start us off on just what that actually is.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Almost forgetting. I am Spencer Robbins. This is my co-host, Dave Faulkner.
And we're going to get into what is one of the weirdest disasters in recent history, anyway. Wednesday, January 15th, 1919. North End neighborhood in Boston, 529 Commercial Street, a molasses tank. 50 feet high, 90 feet in diameter.
High is this way, diameter is
this
way.
Yeah. Containing 2,300,000 gallons of molasses ruptured, sending a tsunami of molasses through the streets of Boston. That was, all right, what officially has been said is 25 feet tall. The plaque at the entrance to the park where it is now says 40, but I think 25 is accurate. Had 35 miles an hour. It took out elevated trains. It caught people, horses, took buildings off their foundations. This was a lot of molasses.
This was a heck of an event.
It was
2.3 million gallons of molasses.
Yes.
Being just dumped. And was this tank not like on top of the hill?
No, it just sat. It sat actually at the harbor, right, kind of beside the Boston Harbor.
Okay.
And we'll get into that a little bit because
I don't know why I was thinking
they pumped off of ships into that, and from there they had a pipeline going to their distilling plant. They had underground pipelines from there, but this was just a storage tank for
but
a buttload of molasses.
2.3 million gallons of molasses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All
of a sudden, that tank ruptured. There's going to be a lot of molasses going everywhere really quick.
So it's not just the molasses, but there's the steel from the tank, the rivets popping.
Yes.
There were reports it sounded like a machine gun where the rivets, when it started to rupture, just pow. It just, all these rivets start popping out.
Once again, this is going to be, you are going to see the dark humor come out in this side.
We're going to laugh.
We do not mean to offend anyone. We are going to laugh because we are combat veterans. That's just who we are. We do not mean to offend. We do not mean to make light of any of the tragedy of this actual situation.
There's a tragedy, but it's such an unusual situation. It's hard.
Very much so.
It's hard not to say, wait, 2.3 million gallons of molasses flooded through the streets of Boston.
In January.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And, slow as molasses in winter. Well, this wasn't really that.
Nope. Of course, you have 2.3 million gallons of anything. It's going to move rather quickly when all of a sudden it's no longer contained.
Right. And there's a few reasons for that. I'll get into that in a little bit. But yes.
Okay, but getting into the song, I do have to say, just the riffs for the song and the music that they play behind it it's one of those songs where you definitely just as soon as you start hearing it going, you're like, ooh, yeah, I can kind of get into this. You know, this is a good, like, you would expect to be able to, like, work out to this song.
This is definitely not an old country classic. Let's go.
Yeah. But all right, getting into it. Now, let's get into the song.
Okay. Oh, and it has a long intro.
That upbeat, long intro. You can definitely see yourself, like, sitting in the gym just pumping iron or getting on the treadmill or doing something like that with it.
Yeah, I forgot how long the intro is, but
very long intro, but also it's just that
it is a rock.
It's that upbeat rock beat that just takes you through, and it continues that way through the entire song.
Yes, it does.
It does. It never really slows down.
Nope.
At all. It's that upbeat. Once again, it's like one of the perfect workout songs.
I would agree.
Can imagine. But yeah.
My head's bobbing.
I know it's not quite over yet. Okay, I'm gonna back it up a little bit before we start playing it. But for that right there, can you tell what they needed in this song?
More cowbell.
Exactly. What we need is more cowbell. Yeah. Because just the guitar dies away. And then you've got the cymbal and just the cowbell. Tung, 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 tung. Just right there is just...
That's perfect.
Okay, getting into the lyrics of that, even after the cowbell. Sugar, it's hot today, so very hot today. Can you feel it? Can you smell it? Can you hear that tank a-creaking away? They're talking about January 15th, there we are, 1919, in Boston. It would have been freezing at that point in time.
Well, we're going to talk about that. This is one of the causes, in fact,
and
is a weather change.
And the other is, can you hear that tank a-creaking away? If you're hearing the tank making noises, which, I mean, we'll get into it a little bit later, but if you're pumping a hot liquid into a cold container, it's going to make some noise. You know, mm-hmm. We'll get into the reason why you're pumping a hot liquid into a cold container a little bit later on. But then getting into that whole, when they said it sounded like a machine gun going off, that's where we get into here in the next part.
Yeah.
Okay, just going off of that, and yeah, we actually have notes again this time.
Yes.
So when the sheet iron blows and the sweet mire flows, they're talking about, it's 2.3 million gallons of molasses. The sweet mire. Just the way that they worded that was just...
I thought it was kind of good.
It's very good. Then... you got a real flash flood, and it's not mud. You've got... why did you staple this?
I don't know.
You've got 2 million gallons of molasses to go.
Yeah.
And when we first started talking about this, I thought it was like, okay, it was one of the smaller tanks that they might have had, and then So when I first started hearing the song, and then it was, you got 2 million gallons of molasses to go. I'm thinking it's not nearly that much. I'm thinking it's, 1919. Okay, they've got maybe 200,000 gallons in this thing. So yeah, I could see how it causes damage and catches people by surprise when it blows. Then you actually told me the other night how big this tank was, and I was thinking like, okay, so
this is genuine.
2.3 million gallons inside of this tank. It blows. Yeah, it's going to cause some damage. It's going to cause some issues, no matter how cold it is, even with molasses, because that's just a lot.
And I'll get into the science a little bit here, and when we get a little farther in or at the end.
All right, continuing on. That beat and that upbeat just keeps on going.
Yeah, those are great lyrics.
So many men swept out. And buildings too. That's what a 2-story wave of molasses will do. You were talking about, they originally said 40 foot high. With everything that science has been able to figure out and all the
It's 25 feet.
It was about 25 feet.
Yeah. Almost 2.5 stories of
2-story wave of molasses.
Yeah.
So you're not only dealing with this liquid that's coming out, you're also dealing with the extra added weight because it's not water, it's molasses.
That is correct.
Then it's a short ride on the dark tide in a suffocating candy glaze.
Yes, and that is going to become part of the catastrophic and morbid part of this story.
Yes, and one thing about this band, the darkest of the Hillside Thickets, this band is... you can look it up on their website, and it shows right there on the first page as soon as you go to their website. It shows that they are an H.P. Lovecraft band. These people mainly do songs about Call of Cthulhu and the whole Lovecraftian mythos and everything that goes along with that. I've played Call of Cthulhu. I have read some of the books and everything that's going on with it. That gets real dark, real fast, real weird. And it doesn't just talk about, stuff here at elder gods and everything that you can come up with that. It also talks about there's also aliens and all this other stuff that work into that, and it's Lovecraft is H.P. Lovecraft works are, number one, extremely dark.
Okay.
All right, let me back it up just a couple of seconds, because all of this real high upbeat song, everything, all the lyrics and everything, I'm not going to be able to pause it perfectly in between everything.
Unlike my country ballads where you can just go...
there's a few seconds in between the verse and the chorus and the verse and the chorus. Yeah, you can't do that in this song because it's upbeat, it's real fast, and it just goes through. Even though it is 3 minutes and 42 seconds long. Yeah. It's just mostly the intro and the outro to it that is.
Right.
But it still keeps that upbeat, hard charging.
It's definitely a workout song.
Oh, yeah. But getting into the next part. Sorry you came, sorry you tried. You had to find the sweetest. Just the chorus right in there. I'm sorry, or not, I'm sorry. The lyrics are, sorry you came, sorry you tried, sorry you had to find the sweetest way to die. They're talking about people that are literally being crushed or drowned by a giant wave of molasses. And in this song, it is...
Now,
I warned you at the beginning of it, it was going to get dark.
okay, I'm going to stick this in here because this is important. If you're not familiar with what molasses is made from cut sugar cane being pressed, and they take that liquid that presses out of sugar cane, and they basically boil it and get a lot of the water off to get the sugar content really high. And then for dark molasses, which is what we're talking about, they do it twice. They're essentially they're thickening that liquid, just like they make maple syrup. They heat it.
They're distilling the water out of it.
Right. They heat it to boil the water off, and they're left with basically sugar juice. So the sweetest way to die refers to molasses is basically sugar juice cooked down and concentrated into a really thick liquid.
Yes. It is a very thick liquid. I've tried pouring it at 70 degrees and
molasses has, it's typically used as a sweetener. That's how we know it. But it was also used to produce alcohol for munitions during World War One.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
okay.
Because they made raw ethanol,
which
was used for
a very high
munitions
sugar
in World
content.
War One. Right.
A very high sugar content would be the perfect thing for yeast to ferment and create alcohol in.
This storage tank was owned by the United States Industrial Alcohol Company.
So
they made industrial alcohol. They were a brewer. I mean, a distiller.
Distiller, yeah. Because, you kind of have to brew it before you distill it, but
right.
That's something that we will not be getting into because that's mostly illegal. Well, not the brewing, but the distilling process, yeah.
But that's where the sweetest way to die.
Mm. But then it repeats, sorry you came, sorry you tried, sorry you had to find the sweetest. Okay, so now you're immersed. Struggling makes it worse. Molasses is a very, very thick liquid. If you're caught up in this, you're not going to be able to swim out of it.
Molasses is a non-Newtonian fluid, meaning it's thin at high pressures and heat, and it thickens as it comes out from under pressure and cools.
Yes.
So, yes.
So it's going to be
in
like
that tank, 2.3 million gallons under a lot of pressure, and there's another reason that we'll get into in a few minutes.
But it's also going to be because, it's like that. It's not slime. I can't remember what in the world they call it at this point in time.
Oh, it's cornstarch and water.
Yeah,
So
but I
you
can't
just
remember.
push your
I can't
hand
remember
in,
what
or
they
you
actually call
if
it.
you punch it, it's a non-Newtonian fluid.
If you punch it, it turns solid.
Yeah,
If you just
that's a non-Newtonian fluid.
if you just kind of push your hand into it easily,
like a
it
liquid.
goes right in. But that's basically what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And if all of a sudden a giant wave of this thing's coming at you, you're thinking, okay, well, it's liquid, so let me swim my way up so I can get a breath. That ain't gonna work.
There were reports of people who actually kind of body surfed on it. They were able to stay on top and tumble along and basically body surfed this giant friggin' wave of molasses. There was a 10-year-old boy that survived that's just how it caught him. And he kind of rode it out.
It caught him at the top of the wave, and he was just able to kind of ride it on out. Yeah, I can see that. But if you're right up next to the tank and all of a sudden everything comes over top of it, you're done.
Yeah.
There ain't no swimming out of this. All right. But then they were carried away in a syrup brown. Molasses, especially the dark molasses, is very, very brown.
Yes.
Almost black.
Yes. In fact, there is a molasses called blackstrap molasses, where it's a third time cooked, and it starts to get bitter because it's almost burnt. Blackstrap is almost burnt.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. But then, back in 1919 Boston town, they got the date right.
They did.
They got the year right on this one here.
Yeah.
Even though from the beginning of it, you kind of think they were talking about summertime, which we'll get into here in just a little bit. I got to flip to the next page.
I did that.
Yeah. Then, getting back in to the actual song.
Chorus. All right, not much to talk about there.
But here's where usually your chorus in a song is the same throughout. You know,
Right.
even if you just have two choruses or you have three
It
choruses.
is a little different this time.
This one's a little bit different because in the first one
They repeat. In this one,
they repeat the first one in they repeat the first part of the chorus in the second part of the chorus. In the first one, they cut off after sweetest.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I thought was interesting.
It's an interesting thing that they do in songs, and this is also just showing, I don't know if it's then instead of cutting it off at sweetest in the second one,
right.
they just
Finished it out.
They finished it out in this one. And I don't know if that's just, the band figured out after the first one that it sounded better if they finished it out. But that first one, the sweetest, and then they added in a little bit more of the history and everything.
Yeah.
It kind of flows.
No, I agree. So.
But then after that, it continues on just a little bit. But yeah, you were right. It is.
We are still.
It is pretty much. Yeah, there's still more to read of the lyrics, but we haven't gotten into it yet. And then it goes right back into the chorus again.
It's.
But matter of fact, it doesn't even go into the chorus again. It just finishes out.
That's it. I mean,
it kind of finishes out in the bridge.
It's a long outro with a repetitive, but they've covered
with a repetitive outro bridge.
Yeah, they've kind of covered the history.
Yeah,
at this point.
No. But there's still, at this point in time, there's still 1:23 left in the song.
Yeah. And
it's one of those where I don't feel comfortable just, leaving it
right
at the end of the lyrics because it just then I get the song stuck in my head and I want to finish it and I want to hear it and I want to finish it and I want to hear it. And, you know exactly how that feels.
Yes.
That long, but still maintaining that beat. Just that long outro.
Yeah, all this. Do that?
Sugar there is something. Sugar there is something you don't see every day.
Oh boy, no you don't.
A 2.5-story tall wall of molasses coming at you. No, that is something you definitely do not see every day.
No, you don't.
Because that would definitely be one of those things where, if you're sitting across town in your balcony in your hotel room and you just see this thing just poof and then just come out, it's just one of those where it's going to be.
Yeah.
Well,
what the hell was that?
What the hell was that? But it was kind of neat to watch.
Ooh, smells good in here.
Yeah, and then of course you're going to get hit by the smell of which they went into in the beginning of the song, which it sure is hot today. Can you feel it? Do you smell it? Because everybody knows the smell of when something is extremely sweet. Everybody knows that smell.
There are stories.
Okay, well, once again, I've got to finish the song out.
Okay, all right.
There's 45 seconds left in the song.
We're gonna hear
we
it.
can't. I know we can't do that all at one time, but sugar, there is something you don't see every day. Copyright break. Because once again, I can't go without hearing the actual outro and end of the song.
I've listened to this song about 100 times in the last week, and
I've done it about 100 times in the last 2 days.
Every time I put it, I'm like, I'm an old school country guy, but I like this. Man.
Some things just fucking slap, dude. I'm going to have to edit that.
Yeah. Okay,
I cut out a little bit of the cymbals coming off there, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It's just literally the cymbals trailing out. So.
Right. So now we're going to get into how they do. Not bad. Got the date right, and it's something you don't see every day.
That is
honestly.
definitely something you don't see every day.
And this wave of molasses was traveling at 35 miles an hour. It's
all right. That is faster than a human being can run. So
it's faster than horses can run typically. So most horses can run.
Yes. Unless you're talking about a thoroughbred racehorse that's bred for running.
Right. So what would have caused basically a 2.5 million gallon tank of molasses to fail? Well, first off, why did they have a 2.5 million gallon tank of molasses?
That's kind of what I want to know.
Okay. Now,
but then again, using it to ferment alcohol.
They were fermenting alcohol for rum. And like I said, this is 1919, so this is a year after the end of World War I. It was also used for munitions. Now, kind of an interesting little side note, one day later, there was a little amendment passed.
Just a day?
The next day, the amendment, prohibition passed the next day. Yeah. January 16th, 1919, the amendment passed.
Which was which amendment?
The 18th, I think.
Oh, we're going to have to look that up now.
Yeah. Prohibition of the sale of alcohol except for medicinal use.
Yes.
But this company knew that was coming, so they were going to. This tank had only been filled to capacity 5 times. And this is going to be one of the issues with that, is that cyclical loading. And
you were correct.
18th.
It was the 18th
Okay.
Amendment.
So this thing was built in 1915. So 4 years. It was only filled to capacity 5 times. This was the 5th time. Now,
well, if it was only filled to capacity 5 times, I would definitely have to say with that particular tank, this was definitely the last time it was filled to capacity.
well, yes, yes, it was. The tank. I'm going to get into that in a minute, but so here's a few of the things that were an issue with this tank. It was built so poorly. It was designed by Arthur Gell. He was treasurer and secretary of the United States Industrial Alcohol Company. He oversaw the construction of the tank. He was a treasurer and secretary, had no engineering, no construction experience.
Well, he definitely...
He just said, here's what we need, and had it built.
Well, he definitely wasn't a porter or a...
It was done...
Now I can't think the name of a
The
bucket maker.
steel, even at the time, because there were investigations later, even then the steel was half as thick as it should have been.
According to regulations at the time?
There were no regulations, but what engineers would have built at the time, the steel was half as thick. The steel was substandard, was low in manganese, so it was a brittle steel. They used poor rivets. This tank leaked so badly that the locals in the neighborhood would go collect molasses off this tank in jars to use at home. And the way the company addressed these leaks, did they fix them? No. They painted the tank brown so you couldn't see
Then
the
it was
molasses
leaking?
pouring out of this tank. It creaked and groaned its whole 5 years in existence.
At that point in time, why don't you just take a mop over to it and instead of using paint or anything, just use the molasses to paint it?
But that was their way of fixing was, we'll just paint it brown so you can't see the molasses pouring out of this tank. Like I said, the neighbors in the neighborhood went with jars and collected molasses for household use.
That definitely does sound like a government job, though.
I was not a government, but it was another example
A government
unregulated industry.
A government-funded job. Okay,
It was a government. No, it was just unregulated industry.
The tank leaks. What are we supposed to do about it? Oh, let's just
No.
paint it brown so it doesn't look like it's leaking. Yeah.
Yeah, Arthur Gell, he's a douchebag. He was promised a raise if he could get this tank built in a certain period of time. So he did, by pressing the the plate manufacturers, just bring me steel plates. I need this built. So they said, well, you should have.
It's not going to be what you should have, but this is what we can give you in that amount of time.
And that's how the tank was built. So,
we are also talking about, the same period in time as the Radium Girls.
again, unregulated industry.
Yep. And if you want to find out more about that,
yes,
please check it out up here.
So what they should have done when they built this tank was fill it with water to pressure test it. But there was a time deadline. He had to have this tank online and molasses in it by January 1st. It finished on like the 22nd of December. So he only had time to put 6 inches of water in it.
And this was 1914 when it was built?
Yes.
Okay. So it would have been January 1914.
Well, I'm not sure of the month or when the tank was built.
But he had to have...
Yes.
He had to have molasses
yes,
in
by
it.
January 1st. So, yes, that would have been December of 1914. He had to have it online 1915. So they put 6 inches of water in it. Yeah, that's good. Rather than filling the tank, because it would have cost, first off, essentially 2.5 million gallons of municipal water.
Yes.
And several days to fill the tank, drain it, and dry it. They didn't do that. So
molasses doesn't really mix well with water.
right. So water wouldn't have hurt it because remember what they cook off of molasses is water.
Yes, but it would have leached. It would have leached from the wood back into the molasses, and caused
no wood. It's all steel tank.
For some reason, I'm still thinking of a giant freaking 2.5 million gallon barrel. I don't know why.
This is a steel tank.
Okay.
A riveted steel tank. So,
which makes even more sense why it was just, it leaks, paint it brown.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what they did. So this thing is so poorly built. All right, here's one of the other problems that we had. That tank had been filled the day before from a ship, and that molasses was warmed. What was in the tank was not heated. I actually had to look this up. But what came off that ship was warmed so they could pump it. They heated it to lower the viscosity of it so they could get it in the tank.
So it flows better.
So they put about 300,000 gallons, I've seen other numbers, but about 300,000 gallons of warmed molasses on top of cold molasses in that tank. Now this tank had one vent. Here's another problem. The day before, so January 14th, 1919, it had been 2 degrees. This is a typical Boston day.
Yeah, in January.
January 15th, it was 41 degrees.
So you're talking about a 39-degree difference between the day
before.
So
the air temperature had raised by 39 degrees.
On the day before, it was... Okay, well, it's 2 degrees. So more than likely, the molasses in that tank was at pretty close to 2 degrees.
Well, probably not. It had been a long cold spell. But remember, in order to heat or cool that much liquid takes a long time.
But the temperature there was relatively close.
But the tank, the outside of the tank was warming.
I'm still talking about that day before.
Right. That steel was at 2 degrees.
Yes.
But the molasses inside probably was not. Again, it takes a long time to heat or cool that much liquid, but then outside
on that day before, they add in 300,000 gallons of heated molasses.
Right.
Which is
to finish filling the tank.
Did we get a number on what the actual degree it was heated
to?
No,
I could not find that. I hunted it. It was warmed enough to make it flow better. So I'm assuming probably 60 or 70 degrees but I'm assuming here. I hunted for that and never could find a number. Okay, but it was warmer than what was in the tank.
But even going with, 60 or 70, you're looking at easily 50 or 60 degrees above what the temperature was in that tank.
Probably. Yeah, it was substantially warmer, but this was...
That causes some issues.
Oh, boy, does it. Well, the physics are one thing, and secondly, adding that extra heated molasses. When you heat molasses, it naturally ferments. One of the byproducts of fermentation is...
carbon dioxide.
Oh, yes, and this tank had a vent. A small vent to blow off CO2.
Do we know the size?
No, I couldn't find that, but it was apparently a small vent.
But a small vent.
Small vent, not...
And not an airlock, just a vent.
Yes. So, this tank was heated, had heated molasses put into it, had cyclical load, because this is only, like I said, the 5th time it had been filled to capacity. When you add that much weight, take it out, add it. And now we're at 5 times. Yeah, stress on piss poor build to begin with. And we're going to put a bunch of CO2 and build literally build pressure.
Now the other thing that I have to ask is, how in the hell did this last 5 years?
Well, luck. Pure luck. And then it didn't. And then, it held up until, oh, shit, it didn't. So this is it's a wild story.
It is definitely a wild story, but
now
you add in just the fact that, okay, just from the physics standpoint of it, you have something that is 50 degrees cooler. And then you have the outside of it that is a few degrees cooler than that. The next day comes around, and it's 39 degrees hotter outside. So the outside starts heating up. The inside is...
Boy, talk about a perfect storm.
It would have cooled. The top would have cooled down. The bottom would have heated up. Everything starts wanting to kind of mix, even though... Please tell me that they didn't pump the heated molasses into the bottom of the tank.
No, I believe it went to the top, but I am not sure of that.
Okay, because we all know how. Well, if you don't know, tornadoes are formed by hot air gets trapped underneath cold air. Well, the hot air wants to go up, the cold air wants to go down, and that's how you get the whole spiral that just reaches hell.
Right. We're going to get past what caused this. We've got some ideas. First off, piss poor build, piss poor design, adding heated liquid, the temperatures, that was probably the cause.
The temperature differences for everything.
Oh, yeah.
On top of the piss poor build.
Right.
It's just
right.
Everything just built upon everything else.
This was a perfect storm. This is a perfect storm. So now we're going to get to a little bit of the damage done. This wave of molasses actually washed cars, trucks, took buildings off their foundations. Part of the tank actually knocked over part of the elevated train station, trains they had in town. It knocked part of that whole thing down. And it also took 21 lives. This is the not funny part. 21 people died.
Agreed.
The majority suffocated. Once that molasses washed over them, if they got washed under, molasses thickening. And it's thickening because it's going out from into 41 degree temperatures, so it's thickening as it moves through the town.
Yes.
And
if people haven't figured it out by now, physics is a bitch.
Yeah. So the people that drowned, it just once it washed up their noses,
they couldn't get it out.
There was no way. And it wasn't just people; it was horses, dogs, cats, any animal that got trapped and got. And
anything that actually got covered over
yes,
at that point.
And they were, and I think the song mentions they were glazed. It took a long time because the bodies actually were so glazed it took days to clean them off enough to recognize them.
In a suffocating candy glaze.
Yeah.
It's a short ride on the dark tide in a suffocating candy glaze.
Right. And that is exactly what happened. Some people, however, were washed by that wave into the Boston Harbor. The last body was found 4 months after the disaster. Within 2 or 3 days, they had
months.
Yes, the last body was found 4 months. They've been reported missing. In the first 2 or 3 days, they had found 11 bodies. The newspaper article I read said, and this was the next day, there were 11 people dead. So 10 more accumulated over the next little bit. At the end, and the final tally was 21 dead. 150 injured. And there were so many injured, they actually set up a temporary hospital in a building close by to try to help those injured. But those people injured had been picked up by that wave and dashed into light poles
or buildings,
elevated
train rails.
Yeah,
and
these people were just beat. Think about any wave of anything that catches you and slams you or tumbles you with all this debris that's coming down.
Yeah, like you were talking about all the people that were body surfing out of this.
Yeah, and the one that I was talking about body surfed, his little sister had actually, she died in it. And the rescue attempt was actually phenomenal. First on the scene, there was 116 cadets from the USS Nantucket. She was a training ship for the Massachusetts Nautical School. She was docked nearby. They would have been training for
Massachusetts Nautical School. Is that one of the ones that was absorbed by MIT?
No, I don't think so. No, she has a new name now, and I didn't write that down. But those cadets ran.
I'll find that name and see if we can't drop it. No, we can't really drop anything underneath us. Why in the hell do we keep pointing down? It'll go up here.
But they ran several blocks and waded into basically knee-deep molasses to try and help rescue people. Soon after came the Boston Police, Red Cross, Army and Navy personnel. And again, there were so many injured personnel, they had to make a makeshift hospital in a nearby building. The injured took hours and sometimes a couple of days to rescue because they were stuck. Once this molasses got out into 41-degree molasses, it's thick.
They were stuck in. They were stuck in basically wet concrete.
It was goo
that didn't solidify.
Yeah.
It sticks to everything, and Lord.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to cover that one here in just a second.
Okay.
So anyway, they got after 150 people injured, 21 killed, then came the cleanup. Oh boy. So they used...
Sorry, I'm checking the gain.
They used a fireboat from the harbor spraying salt water to spray down, because this happened right on the harbor. Mm-hmm. So they're spraying salt water onto the streets to basically wash away molasses. Then they use sand and mops and brooms and the harbor, Boston Harbor was brown until summer. This is January. The Boston Harbor was brown until summer from the molasses.
So if you're up and swimming around in the Boston Harbor and it tastes a little bit sweet, now you know why.
Okay, and that's another funny thing. All right, cleanup. It actually took weeks. Now,
it sounds to me like cleanup took months.
Well, to get most of it off the streets took weeks. Months is probably an underestimate because molasses, if you've ever touched it, is sticky as hell.
Very much so.
Well, so all the rescuers and
it has a very high
cleanup crews, and there were a lot of sightseers. They're tracking through it, and they were tracking it all over Boston. And it was on subways. It was on the seats on trains. There was molasses. There was sticky on every payphone handsets. It was on everything. And apparently it took almost a year to get all the sticky off of everything, because it ended up getting tracked all over Boston, not just that neighborhood, but people walk. It was on their shoes. They're carrying it all over. It was in houses. It was in carpets. It's in everything. That molasses was in everything.
Can Can you imagine walking through and then how many miles it would have taken you to quit having to go like?
And now, I can imagine what...
Even after getting out of the neighborhood, just how long it would have taken you to not have your shoes sticking to the ground anymore.
I can imagine what my wife would say walking into the house. You better take them shoes off, cause...
No kidding.
Because you're going to track, and everything you've touched. You're sticky everywhere you've touched that shit. It's...
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is true. I have heard that on hot summer days, you can still smell molasses in that neighborhood. I do know.
Oh, that would be.
It was actually reported, but 4 or 5 decades after, on hot summer days, you could still smell molasses in that neighborhood because it just permeated everything.
That much molasses coming out at one point. 2.3 million gallons.
25 feet high, 35 miles an hour.
That is a 23 with 5 zeros after it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Had to make sure of my own math there.
Yeah.
Once again, English major, you do the math.
It's a lot.
A 23 with 5 zeros after it.
Yep. And there have been MIT and a couple of other universities that have said, okay, and they built scale models with corn syrup and said, could this have actually happened?
Kind of the same viscosity? Close
Yes.
to the same
Yes.
viscosity.
And it's a non-Newtonian fluid as well.
Yeah.
So they built scale models and said, yep, 25 feet, 35 miles an hour is absolutely possible. Now, like I said, there's a park right about where this happened, and it says it was a 40-foot wave. That's an overestimate, but
It might have been a 40-foot wave
at the tank,
right?
Because the tank was 50 feet tall. So, but the wave that washed through, 25 feet high, 35 miles an hour, 2.3 million gallons of molasses,
and water weighs 8 pounds per gallon. Like it's like 8.5 pounds per gallon.
14.
Molasses weighs
about
14 pounds per gallon.
I think that's what I read.
So you're talking about 75% more weight than water.
Right. It is denser, yes.
Yeah.
But, again, non-Newtonian, so it starts liquidy and
turns into
glue. And
not just
this
glue.
is one of the things I read is horses would, that once they got trapped, the harder they fought, it was almost like quicksand. The harder they fought, the worse they were trapped. Because they would end up buckling. And,
like the song says, the more you struggle, the worse it is.
Exactly.
Which, let me grab it again.
Yep.
I keep reaching back over here for the thing.
So, I would say, honestly...
So now you're immersed. Struggling makes it worse. They were carried away in a syrup brown.
Yep.
Yeah. Struggling made it worse.
You know what? The band did a pretty damn good job.
I have to agree after hearing everything you're talking about.
Not a lot of dates or anything like that, but just the absolute history of the song.
They didn't do the dates. They didn't get into specific details of like how many people died or how far it went or anything. But yes, for the actual event and what someone would have witnessed at that point in time, yeah, I'd have to say pretty accurate.
I'm gonna give this one a 7 out of 10 for me on my scale because there's nothing wrong in the song. It just doesn't, it doesn't cover everything.
Now you're getting into some dangerous territory because now we're gonna have to have either a Dave scale or a Faulkner scale for how accurate it is for all this from now on.
Well, what? I'm willing to do that. Marie Laveau was a 3. Go back and watch.
A 3.
I'll
throw it up here. Please
3.
Go back and watch.
That's a 3.
Because that was. Was she real? Yes. Was it accurate?
Nah,
no.
not really. That's a 3 because she was a real person.
Yeah.
But
just because she was a real person.
so,
Is that,
I might have to start doing a scale of, all right, let's see how accurate was this song. Edmund Fitzgerald, I'm going to give that one a 9 out of 10. That just, again, go back and watch.
just because of the poetic license. But
Right.
also, one more thing that we got to do
What's that?
just for this song, because there are people in it that we know that passed away. We don't have any names or anything significant like that, but are you going to pull up a list of names?
I have them.
We're going to go over the names of the 21 people that were lost in this disaster.
Now, several of these are Italian names, predominantly Italian neighborhoods, so I may struggle with pronunciation, but let's
we're going to mess something up.
Bear with us.
Please.
No disrespect. First name, Patrick Breen, 41 years old.
44.
44 years old. Holy shit, I can't see my own phone.
Second person, William Brogan, 61 years old.
Bridget Clowardy, 65.
Stephen Clowardy, 34.
John Callahan, 43.
Maria DeStasio, age 10.
William Duffy, 58.
Peter Francis, 64.
Flaminio Gallerani, 37.
Pasquale Intosca, age 10.
James Keneally, 48.
Eric Laird, 17.
George Lair, 38.
James Lennon, 64.
Ralph Martin, 21.
James McMullen, 46.
Caesar Nicolo, 32.
Thomas Noonan, 43.
Peter Shaughnessy, 18.
John Saberlick, 69.
And Michael Sano or Sanat, 78.
All right. To the fallen, my brother.
Rest in peace. We've made a lot of jokes through this because it's just so unlikely. But that's 21 people that lost their lives.
Yes, we've made a lot of jokes. It is, once again, we are combat veterans.
We find humor in places that most people would not find humor.
And that is a coping mechanism for things that we have gone through. We are not, when we make jokes about things that are this dark or this tragic, and this is definitely a tragic thing, especially for the 21 names that we just read off, we are not making light of the people that died. We are making light of the situation in which happened. It is never we are taking for granted that these people lost their lives and that we're making fun of these people lost their lives. No, that is not what we are ever doing. The first episode that you got to see us read off names was the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. They passed away in a tragic accident. We read their names off in respect of them and their families that came after them, those that were left behind and those that continue on. We read their names off for the 21 that died here for that exact same reason. We are not making light of they lost their lives in this tragedy. We are paying homage to they lost their lives in this tragedy. When we go through, and there are several people that I can name that do not come into anything that we are going to be talking about on this show, probably the same with you, that they gave their lives, or their lives were taken from them before their time. And how we deal with it is not making light of the people. Because the people are there. The people were there. The people meant something. The people not filled in, but...
All right. But the absurd circumstances around their deaths, we can laugh at those absurd circumstances without
Agreed.
diminishing their passing. Same thing here.
Agreed.
We will not. This was a tragedy, but it's an absurd circumstance, and we laugh at those. We have to, and I think everybody should be able to look at things like this and go, "Wow, that's the craziest." Nobody would ever think that would happen, and those people that
Definitely.
were caught were. There were kids at the base of that tank. The 10-year-old girl that you read off, I know she was at the base of the tank.
Probably collecting molasses for her family to use.
Actually, she was collecting firewood. It's January. They were.
Okay. Well.
They were, but it's they were doing their daily thing. Who the hell would ever think that big tank over there is just gonna blow up and wipe out your neighborhood? Again, no, let's...
That's why I tried to go down the wrong tube.
You won't.
But do not ever think that we are making light of the lives that were lost. We are just making light of the absurd circumstances
yes.
that happened around it.
And we will, we're going to continue to do that. If it's a story like this, this was absurd. This was honestly just
2.3 million gallons of molasses suddenly becomes uncontained
in a Boston neighborhood.
That to me is absolutely hysterical.
Yes. Yeah.
The 21 lives that were lost in that, no. That is not hysterical to me.
No, that's tragic, but the situation is so absurd, we have to laugh at the situation.
Exactly.
Without demeaning the passing of those people. Or the 150 injured, or the horses and dogs and cats, and like you said earlier when we were talking off camera, the rats.
Thousands of rats that probably perished as well. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to let you close this out.
Are we closing out?
I think it's time. Or do you have something?
No, I'm fairly certain I'm at a bullshit at this point in time, and I'm fairly certain I've had enough beers that I need to cut us out of here so we can actually go home.
All righty.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us once again here on the History in Music podcast, soon to be named something completely different. We hope that if you are listening to us here on YouTube and watching us here on YouTube, that you will drop a like, leave a comment down in the section below. Please tell us what we are doing wrong, what we can do better in the future. Even drop a comment on just something one of these subjects and one of these songs that you would like to hear us cover the actual history behind. If you are listening to us on any of the other podcasting things, please tell your friends about us. Leave a like and a review on that podcasting service so other people may hear about what we are doing and get our names out there even further. Other than that, my name is Spencer Robbins.
I'm Dave Faulkner.
And we hope that you will watch us. We hope that you learn something from what you listened to today. And as always, we'll see you next time.